Alrighty, so we are back. Welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. Jake and Tyler here. We got a bunch of Brewer games to go through. Also, we're going to discuss the trade deadline from yesterday. If you are subscribed to us on Patreon, you got to see that in our pregame show from last night during our Patreon watch party of Brewers and Braves Game 2. But today we're going to go through our thoughts again for the masses, and then we're going to talk about the two homestand series against the Marlins and Braves. So let's get into it.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Alrighty, so we can start with the trade deadline. Now, we essentially three pitchers that the Brewers acquired. They acquired Aaron Savali, that was earlier in the month. They acquired Nick Mears, who I called, which is fun. Even though he wasn't really a pitcher that was on the block, I was happy to get that one right because I said he felt like a Brewers guy. His ERA is deceiving, but all of his advanced metrics are great. And then on Monday evening, the Brewers also acquired Frankie Montas, so he's going to make his debut on Friday. So, Jake, give me your thoughts on the move, and then let's have some hypothetical questions.
Yeah, so we covered some of this last night on the Patreon. If you're not there, you should be. It's a great time. We give you guys a lot of information in those pregame shows, so come join us. Invite your friends. Maybe it's you that wouldn't love it. Maybe it's your younger brother or your cousin or your dad. Invite them. Tell them about us, okay? So I'm going to repeat some stuff that I said yesterday. So we've seen Savali, right? Savali has had some good starts. He's had okay start. He had one bad start. His bad start was literally his first start. You discovered that last night as we were digging deeper a little bit. His bad start was literally his first start with the Brewers, which was on the road against the Dodgers. I mean, I don't know the standard that you're trying to set for somebody, but if you just trade for a guy who was struggling with the Tampa Bay Rays, we got him from them. He was with the Guardians the year before. The Rays acquired him last year, and then we acquired him this year from the Rays. And you're just expecting him to come to a new team without working out with anybody, not getting any time with the catchers, just show up and dominate a Dodgers lineup while they're at home. I can't help you, okay? But he did go toe-to-toe with Paul Skeens. That was the day when Paul Skeens had the Brewers no-hit through 7 innings. But Aaron Savali was just as good in my opinion, especially in the early innings. He was just as good.
He pitched 6 and a third and gave up 1 run. Like that's a gem as far as I'm concerned.
And he had a bunch of Ks. He had at least 6 or 7 Ks.
If I remember 6 or 7, yeah, you're right.
So then you get to Nick Mears, and again, I got to give you your flowers. Congratulations, man! Such a good call for you. Really, really under the radar guy. He was nowhere near my radar. He was nowhere near 99% of Brewers Twitter, all those experts on Twitter and Facebook that claim they know baseball better than you. And you called it, dude. It was you and Dominic Catroni.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
You did.
I did. Okay. I wanted to make sure because Dominic is fantastic, and I do not want to get his name wrong and show him any disrespect. He's fantastic. And you're fantastic, and that was a great call by you. And he's going to be a good pitcher for the Brewers. He's going to be a great tool for us.
Yep.
Just a classic Brewers pickup. Just really good call by you. And I have some numbers on him actually, so I'll share a little bit of that I shared last night. It's right here. So Nick Mears in the month of July, going into today, which he didn't pitch today.
He did.
He did pitch today?
Yep.
Dang, I must have missed that part. I had to listen to most of the game on the radio. But Nick Mears in the month of July, going into today, had 8 1/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 0 home runs, 12 Ks, and he had 2 holds. He had a 0 ERA over the last 14 days. He last allowed a run July 9th at Cincinnati, and 2 of his 3 earned runs that he gave up for the month of July were on July 2nd against the Milwaukee Brewers. So another fantastic pickup by the Brewers. Montas is another guy that he's having a struggling year. He played for Cincinnati this year. Cincinnati, another ballpark like Colorado where it can really jump a pitcher's ERA and make them look worse than they are. Also, they don't have the Brewers pitching lab. So that has to be talked about. it's like when you talk about the Packers, right? If anybody ever questions the Packers when they pick an offensive lineman or a quarterback, literally just stop listening to them. And I'm being so serious when I say that. The Brewers are a pitching lab factory. The Packers are an offensive lineman, offensive tools factory. Like, it's just plain and simple. And the Brewers pick up a guy that they trust, they believe in. They give up Joey Weimer and Jacob Junis, and Junis was a good tool for us. And you brought up some great points. I'm going to leave you to say that. But giving up a Joey Weimer, a guy that was going to be stuck in AAA probably for the next couple of years anyways, it's kind of a wash. If you can get a starting pitcher and you could turn him into something, you like what you see, that's the jump that you take. We didn't have to sell the farm, okay? I'm going to save most of what I want to say for after the show because I don't know how many farms that we have that people want to sell. But anyways, I thought they made educated moves. That's what I thought they did. I thought they were very educated with the moves they made.
How do you feel about the word responsible?
I like that too. That's a great word. Fits.
Matt Arnold was asked about not making any other additions, right at the deadline. Mm-hmm. And he said he wanted to stick with the young core. So I'm glad we didn't trade, a Garrett Mitchell for Jack Flaherty or Sal Frelick for Jack Flaherty, who is a rental, who the Yankees were a little bit scared away from because of his medical history.
Yep.
So there's things there. Montes had an injury last year. Junis had an injury this year. And Montes and Junis are the same age.
Yeah.
So we essentially traded Joey Weimer to get a starter in exchange for a long reliever. That's basically what the Brewers were doing there. So Frankie Montes has an arsenal of pitches. I think he's got 5 or 6 different pitches that he can throw. He uses 4 of them pretty regularly. He's got a pretty good splitter. Now, they talked about it during the game today a little bit, and Bill Schrader was talking about it, how Montes talked about the Brewers being one of the teams that laid off of his splitter. And they were able to hang 5 runs on him later in the game. But if the pitching lab can work with that splitter, that's something where I really believe that Frankie Montes can help the Brewers. Because that is one of the toughest pitches to hit in all of baseball, like across the league. Teams struggle with splitters. So there's that. I asked Tim Dillard actually what he thought of the move. And, he said the Brewers needed starting pitching depth, so do 10 other teams. And honestly, when it came to acquiring a starting pitcher, seeing what the Houston Astros gave up for Yusei Kikuchi, I didn't want to have to try to pay a premium for Jack Flaherty or Eric Fetty, who the White Sox wanted to pair with Tommy Pham, which probably took the Brewers out of the running for that. The Brewers don't need to trade for a washed-up outfielder.
Ooh, who shadow boxes?
Not sorry.
Who shadow?
The guy that likes to fight. Yeah, exactly. There you go. And that's what the White Sox wanted to do. They wanted to have them packaged. I don't even want to know, after a 33-year-old Yusei Kikuchi took 3 top 30 prospects to acquire, including, I believe, the Astros number 2, what the price of a Garrett Crochet would have been.
Jesus.
Or Tariq Skubal.
Yeah.
To be straight up with you, if we were going to ask the Tigers about Skubal, they probably would have asked us for Churio.
Yeah, straight up.
That's probably what they would have asked for.
I'm just going to say this as a Brewers fan. I wouldn't be mad at that. If you're the Tigers, you have a responsibility to their fans too.
Right.
You have to ask for that because Skubal is fantastic.
Yeah, he's probably going to win the AL Cy Young.
Yeah.
Or they'd be asking for some insane package that would be like Jefferson Quiro, Tyler Black, and Cooper Pratt.
Yeah.
They'd be wanting like 3 top 10 prospects for him. And I think with where the Brewers are, even though they are in first place, they are outperforming their expectations. I don't think that selling 25, 26, and 27 is a responsible move to make in 2024.
Yep.
So I'm glad that Matt Arnold, while going to add a Frankie Montes, a guy who can potentially help you, I'm glad that Matt Arnold still has the big picture in mind, which is what he needs to do as the general manager. And I know people don't like the David Stearns bites at the apple phrase, but you can see what it takes for some teams to go all in and what it does to them after. Sure, some of them have won World Series, but going all in 1 year does not guarantee you anything.
Nope.
Especially if it's a year that looks like what the Brewers are this year, where they were expected to be, where they are, and where we thought they could go.
Yeah.
Like, Jake and I were optimistic about putting the Brewers in the high 80s for wins.
Yeah.
They're probably going to exceed that. We didn't have them as World Series contenders, and overpaying for a rental starter does not change that, in my opinion.
No.
This is where we are going to buckle down and be optimistic and realistic with you that the Brewers, even though they didn't acquire a top of the trade block name, can still make a run if they can get hot late in September and early October.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be real that I don't think, given the price that it would take to get Tariq Skubal, I don't think that automatically makes the Brewers World Series favorites either.
Not at all.
It obviously raises their contention level, but it doesn't make them instant favorites. And
Right.
What I said last night during our Patreon episode, what I said is, looking at Montes, Flaherty, Kikuchi, Fetty, Tyler Anderson, the Brewers in 2025 are going to have Brandon Woodruff in their rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Woodruff is better than any pitcher that was on this year's trade block, whether they were traded or not. Brandon Woodruff was better than any starter that was traded or discussed to be traded. So that's where my bottom line is I don't want to mortgage 2025 in looking at what we are in 2024, and then next year have a better starting rotation, but have fewer players available.
So, can I piggyback off you real quick?
Yep.
Okay. I want people to really understand where we're at. And when Tyler's talking about us exceeding expectations, we absolutely are, any way you want to cut it. Just because expectations have changed since the Brewers are winning, they are in first place. By the way, even after today, they're still going to be in first place.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware.
Probably by 5 or 5.5 games.
Yep. So they're still in first place pretty comfortably, to be honest with you.
At the absolute least 5.
At the absolute least 5. So you have to understand that we have a 20-year-old superstar. 20 years old. We have young guys that are still developing. Sal Frelick's, Bryce Terang's had a nice bounce back year. He's in a slump right now, but he's had a nice bounce back year. He still brings that defense. You have and I think he's just tired. That's a discussion for a different day. We have Garrett Mitchell, who's trying to remain healthy, and a guy that me and you have said has star potential. We still have a ton of young guys. I mean, Blake, who knows if Blake Perkins can become an impact player for us? He already has impact on defense. He could become an impact bat at some point. We have so many young guys. Joey Ortiz, rookie year, learning. Okay, we have a lot of young people on this team that are still developing. We do not have to sell the farm this year. It's not the time. It is not the time. Now, if we get into year 2 of Churio, if we get into year 3 of Churio, and he's an MVP, favorite, and Sal Frelick is hitting 300, and Terang has 40 stolen bases, and he's hitting in the 280s. I mean, there's just ways to go about this stuff, but this year was not the year. In 2, 3, 4 years, when those guys are stars, established MLB players, Jackson Churio is absolutely going to be a superstar, barring injury, knock on wood. He's absolutely going to be a superstar. Garrett Mitchell stays healthy. That guy could be a star. That guy could sneak in and make a couple all-star games. I really personally feel
got the tools, 100%.
That would be the time to sell the farm.
Go all in.
When you have the guys that are established, not when you have Garrett Mitchell, who's played 21 games now. Not when you have Churio in his rookie year, Ortiz in his rookie year. DL Hall still trying to figure it out. I mean, in 3-4 years, DL Hall could be a stud. We don't know that. He could be a monster. The Brewers pitching line gets their hands on him. And you know what? He's not going out there and getting game experience. But we've seen that's not the only way to gain experience, right? So right now what he's getting is he's getting a lot of coaching on the bench. And he's seeing different things, and he's learning that way. That's still valuable to guys like him who don't have a lot of innings under their belt. Obviously, we want him to stay healthy. But I will say, this season for the Brewers has the exact same feel as for the Packers last year. Not expected to do jack shit. They ended up making the playoffs, had a crazy playoff win. I don't care what anybody says about that San Francisco 49ers game. I almost said Giants because I'm in a baseball mode. They went into San Francisco and they gave them a good game. That Dallas Cowboys game was awesome. They made my entire year.
Once they made the playoffs, anything that happened was great.
Yep, it's going to be the same thing for the Brewers. They make the playoffs. Anything after that is sweet. If they win a game, God forbid, if they win a series, dude, oh my goodness. If they win the series, first one since 2018, I hope that happens so everybody stops complaining about that. It's just going to be icing on the cake.
Yeah. Looking at too, you talk about year 2, year 3 of Chourio, and then we're going to be getting into conversations of obviously Tyler Black will be up at that point.
Yep.
We're going to be possibly discussing Cooper Pratt, where he's going to be at. We talked about him a little bit last night. He hit his first home run at single A last night. And I think he's probably going to start 2025 in Biloxi in Double A. So if he can find a way to get himself to Triple A towards the end of next year and be on a similar rise as far as time goes as Chourio, you're looking at year 3 of Chourio being when Cooper Pratt is called up. And then you're looking at Cooper Pratt and Joey Ortiz and Tyler Black and Bryce Terang and Garrett Mitchell and Sal Frelick and Jackson Chourio and William Contreras will still be here in 2026.
Bro.
That's a squad, bro.
Bro, our team would be young as shit. Holy hell, dude.
And you know who else is going to be here then? Another starting pitcher, Jacob Mizorowski.
And Gosser.
And Robert Gosser.
And if Dale Hall turns into anything, dude, I mean, Brewers are in a crazy good spot right now.
Exactly. So I'm glad we're having this conversation about not mortgaging the future for a year where they're overperforming expectations in year 1 of what was expected to be a rebuild.
Yeah.
So Brandon made a pretty good comment. I think he summed it up pretty well. He said anything can happen in the playoffs, as we've learned. Absolutely have learned that. We've seen wild card teams make runs. But 2024 was always about getting this young squad experience, just like when Braun Fielder, Weeks, Hart, and them came up. And that's perfectly said.
Mm-hmm.
Getting them experience is absolutely something that is on the radar.
Yeah.
People complained about trading Joey Weimer just because he had started hitting the last few weeks.
But good, because
could you imagine how that would have gone over if they had traded Sal Frelick?
Would have been worse.
You can't just get players for nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody's taking a squad of single A players in exchange for, top of the market pitching in a seller's market.
I think
which
that
really just makes me appreciate Matt Arnold getting Aaron Savali for a single A infielder.
Yeah. I mean, I really I don't want to phrase this bad, but I don't think people really understand how good MLB pitchers are. ERA, all stats aside, I don't think people understand how good Major League Baseball players are at their jobs. I'm just going to leave that there.
Brandon said we had an amazing international draft the last 2 years as well. Some unknown names will be on the squad in a couple of years too. And, a guy like Luis Lara is a guy to keep an eye on. I'm really, really interested to see what ends up happening with Chris Livonis. The Brewers were able to get Bryce Mekich to sign. It does sound like they're possibly going to lose Livonis to Wake Forest, but it's other than that. I mean, the Brewers are going to be signing 20 of their 21 draftees. Last year was 18 of 21. They're keeping their guys that they're drafting.
Yeah.
Wes said not sure if Mizorowski was mentioned, but he throws gas. He was mentioned. He's going to be a factor, possibly as early as September.
Yeah.
It'll be in the bullpen, but I mean, he could be in the rotation possibly as early as 2025. I don't think he's going to be on the opening day roster of 2025, but I think he's going to make starts in 2025.
I agree with that.
All right. So on top of people being upset about the trade deadline, we also have not the best week for Brewers baseball. Obviously, losing 2 home series. I mean, not being swept is, I guess, one small silver lining. But give me your power pair and underrated performer from the Marlins and Braves series.
Yeah, so for power pair, I picked Reese Hoskins as my power pair hitter. 6 of 19, 4 runs, 3 home runs. He's bringing the power like everybody's been asking. 7 RBIs. He had 2 walks and only struck out 6 times. So it's a 316 average, a 348 on base percentage, 789 slug, and a 1.137 OPA. So, I mean,
Damn.
he was hitting the ball hard and doing his job, right? That's what we signed him for.
Yep.
And you know what? I'll hold on to those stats because I gave some pretty alarming stats last night with the 2-out hitting. I'll go over that a little later when I have to, but yeah, people need to put some respect on Reese Hoskins, possibly. So then we get to the power pair pitcher, and it was tough to kind of pick one this week, in my opinion. But I went with Colin Ray. Colin Ray just, again, I feel like he just deserves the respect. I mean, he has the most innings pitched on the team and the lowest ERA for starting pitchers on the team.
So
I mean,
consistent.
he just goes out there and he's Colin Ray, right? 5 1/3, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, both of them solo shots. 2 walks and 6 Ks. I mean, if there's ever a Colin Ray start, I mean, Jesus Christ, that's a Colin Ray start.
That's
Um,
so consistent.
And the Brewers won the game. That's all you need to know.
We say this every single time we talk about Colin Ray. Every time he pitches, you have a chance to win,
Yeah,
and it's always true.
just gives you a chance, and that's all you can ask for from a starting pitcher who's not an an all-star or a premier pitcher. Just give us a chance, right? Man, and the wheels are turning after our conversation we just had with Colin Ray. Like, imagine him as like in the 3 slot around all the young guys. I mean, the guy who's been to different countries and pitching to MLB for a couple of years now for the Brewers. I mean, he could be a massive tool, and they could bring Wade Miley back. Sorry, the wheels are turning. I'm just thinking now. So then we get to UP, and I've had the same UP the last 2 weeks, a guy who is starting to put it together a little bit. So I had Garrett Mitchell. Underrated player, Blake Perkins, 100%. Blake Perkins deserves a lot of respect right now. We can go over that in a sec, Brandon. So Garrett Mitchell, 6 of 17, 2 runs, 2 doubles. He had a 1 walk and only 4 strikeouts. He has really good plate discipline. He's shown that, if nothing else. That's a 353 average, 389 on base, 471 slug, and an 859 OPS. So, I mean, he's been really, really good too. Really starting to put together really good at bats. And the Brewers, people just need to take a chill pill. I'm really excited for our talk that we're gonna have after this because I have a lot of thoughts of things that I've been reading, and it's just ridiculous. But what's your power pair, man?
So I have Jackson Churio. You had him last week. I got him this week.
Yeah.
He was 7 for 20 in the last 2 series. That's a 350 batting average. Scored 4 runs, drove 3 in, 2 doubles, 2 home runs, only 2 strikeouts. And then I went with Hobie Milner for my pitcher. He pitched 3 2/3 innings, only gave up 2 hits, 2 walks, had 5 strikeouts and no earned runs. So Hobie Milner is officially back on track, which is great. The Brewers are absolutely going to need that. We're going to have a discussion in today's game about the bullpen. And then for my underrated performer, I went with Sal Frelick. Brandon Blake Perkins is a good choice. I basically, for similar reasons, I went with Sal Frelick. You obviously get the good defense, and then he was 5 for 18. That's a 278 batting average. Don't look now, but if you take out Eric Haas, who has only played in 10 games so far, Sal Frelick is up to 4th on the Brewers in batting average. So people don't like him because he doesn't hit home runs, but he plays elite defense. He's super, super fast. He legged out an infield single. I believe it was in last night's game that he was over 30 feet per second.
Damn.
Which is going to put him among the fastest players in baseball. And he's got a good hit tool. So just because he's not hitting home runs doesn't mean he's not valuable at the plate. I see Sal Frelick as a potential future leadoff hitter.
100%.
So that's where I went with my underrated performer. Now we can get into the Marlins series, and we can start here. So let's start with the Marlins series. Let's go to game 1. What stood out to you from game 1?
So we'll start with the pitching, and Peralta was on the mound for this one. And he gave us 5 1/3, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, and 4 Ks. Now, I left out one stat because it's a stat that's really killing him this year, man. And it's the walks. He had 5 walks again in this one. It's just like, Freddie, you have such good stuff. He has such good movement on his slider and his changeup and his fastball moves. And he's when he has the velocity up, he's absolutely devastating. But people aren't taking the junk. And I will say that some of it may be doing to pitch framing because people have been talking about that all season long. That could be a possibility. I thought about that. I was like, maybe some of the walks are on Contreras. I don't know.
And I'm not. Let me just throw this out there. Where Jake is not saying that Peralta is having a bad year because
No.
Contreras isn't doing enough.
Yeah,
it's just a contextual thing. It's just
Yeah.
marginal, small piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, and because last year he had such a massive jump, which you called again. By the way, we're just gonna praise Tyler the entire episode. But I mean, he had such a massive improvement from Atlanta to the first year with the Brewers, and then this year he's kind of regressed back in terms of just pitch framing, nothing else.
Yes.
But Peralta, if he gets those walks done, man, I mean, I think he's fine. That's when he really gets into trouble, when he puts himself in high pressure situations and he tires himself out in an inning, and then some guy gets a hit and it's 2 runs and people are like, what the heck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
So if he just avoids that, I think he's fine. Hobie Milner, gotta say, man, it was really nice to just see Hobie come in and just lock shit down, man. It really made me feel good in my heart to see Hobie Milner do good, because I'm a big fan of Hobie over the last couple of years, doing this show with my best friend and really starting to appreciate sports for different reasons. And watching a guy like Hobie Milner, who is 125 pounds, soaking wet, fully clothed, wearing a winter jacket, go out there and strike people out because he scrapes his knuckles on the ground is absolutely amazing. It's amazing, and I love it, and I want him to do good because he's one of my favorite players on the team. And then Junk went in there, gave us 2 innings, and got us out of the game. So things that stood out to me on the offensive side, the first couple innings were sloppy. That's the first thing I wrote down about this game, is that the first couple innings for the Brewers were sloppy. We gave a couple home runs in the first inning. Berger and De La Cruz, right? I believe De La Cruz for Miami hit home runs. The defense was sloppy, and the ABs they weren't locked in. I'm just gonna call it like it is. They weren't locked in the first couple innings. The Marlins literally just jumped on us, man. I said we got jumped by Miami in the first 2 innings. They were up 5-2 after 2 innings, and from there it's just the Brewers just couldn't survive. The first hit for the Brewers came when Hoskins hit a home run in the 3rd inning. And the Brewers ended up going 1 for 9 runners in scoring position in this one. So not great. But Contreras, Frelick, and Churio all had doubles in this one, so that's a positive. Overall, just not a great game. Got jumped and just couldn't come back in this one. That's really what it is.
So we saw the outing before this one that Freddie Peralta struggled trying to get into, keeping his pitch count down. And we saw Freddie Peralta have to leave his previous appearance early. And then I got into this one, and looking at the first inning specifically, where he got the walk and then a strikeout, then gave up a home run and another home run with 2 outs. I was wondering if Freddie Peralta was trying to be overly conscious of his pitch count and trying to be too much in the strike zone.
Mm-hmm.
And that, maybe caused him to get too much of the plate in some of those at-bats in the first inning.
Interesting.
So I wonder if that's something that Freddie Peralta, just needs to get out of his head a little bit. Now, this is purely speculation. I don't know if Freddie Peralta is actually an overthinker or if he's just struggles in the first inning. But the numbers definitely say that he struggles in the first inning.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got a 6.43 ERA in first innings. That number is going to go down after today. But the 5th inning is the only one that's higher. So other than that, in the second innings of games, he's getting up to 2.14 ERA. 3rd inning of games, he's got a 1.29 ERA. The 4th inning of games, he has a 2.21 ERA. So he's pretty consistent once he settles down. So once Freddie settles in, he's capable. Obviously, people are, throwing him under the bus and saying that he's not an ace, but we've had this conversation also. He's not here to be our ace. We believe he's got that capability, but if Brandon Woodruff's healthy, Freddie Peralta is the 2nd best pitcher on this team. So there's that. Also, in the first inning, the second inning was followed with a rare Willy Adames error, which is where Freddie Peralta only had 3 earned runs in this game, despite Marlins scoring 5. Now, you mentioned Hobie Milner, to see him have a scoreless outing, and then you brought up the offense with runners in scoring position. I just wrote in my notes, we just need the offense to start stringing basemen on together again. The Brewers, going into the second game of the series, are still 3rd in Major League Baseball in on-base percentage. You just need to, what I wrote in my notes was to stack traffic.
I like that.
So I think the Brewers just need to get back to maybe taking some more chances also. We talked about how much different this team plays under Pat Murphy. You just get back to that fun, free-flowing, putting pressure on the defense type of baseball. And we did have Blake Perkins, who had a single and tried to stretch it into a double, got thrown out at second base. I'm not super mad at that.
Right.
Because we have talked about this in any sport that we've ever talked about, that we don't fault effort.
No.
Blake Perkins is one of those guys where, I'm not going to be mad if he's trying to make an effort play by taking an extra base. I'm not going to get mad at Blake Perkins for that. Now, if Gary Sanchez is going to try to do that, or William Contreras is going to try to do that, or Rhys Hoskins is going to try to do that, I might be a little bit more like, come on, man, that's not your game. Blake Perkins' game is built on speed.
100%.
Trust Blake Perkins' speed, so I'm not mad at him for getting thrown out. It puts pressure on the defense. A bad throw, you never know. Maybe it rolls into a place where you can get another base. We saw it happen with Garrett Mitchell on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So making effort plays like that puts pressure on the defense. What stood out to you from the second game of the Marlins series?
So we get into the second game, and Savali's on the mound for this one. Again, 5 1/3 innings. He gives up 7 hits, but he gets 0 walks. And with the 0 walks, only 2 earned runs. And you know what? I'm feeling pretty good about Aaron Savali after the start. I'm like, you know what? That's not bad.
Yeah, I'll take that every time.
Koenig had a rough game in this one. Just call it what it is. Gave up a home run to, I believe he's the one that gave up the home run to Josh Bell, right? Or am I tripping?
I don't write down the opponent's players that do things. I just write down what happened.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. But Josh Bell was on one this last weekend against the Brewers. He was on fire. Peguero, he had a rough outing as well. But Junk and Jay, they were pretty solid. We got to talk about the offense. So 6 players had a hit. Okay, so that's not bad. I like when multiple players get hits. That's something that I like to note down. All the runs came because of Rhys Hoskins. And I want to point out, tremendous moment from Rhys, meeting the young fan whose also name is Rhys. That was absolutely a cool moment. I got to say, I saw a comment on our post because I posted it. I was like, too good not to share. I thought it was a tremendous moment. Made me feel good. I was like, man, I wish my daughter would have some moment like that sometime in her life,
Mm-hmm.
And that dad had to be so proud just that his daughter was like never going to forget that. That's going to be a moment that she lives with forever. But for somebody to comment and be like, she writing in yellow wasn't a good idea. Like, dude, I agree with you. But you don't have to say that, dude.
Read the room.
Just let the moment be the moment, dude. You don't have to be a douchebag all the time. I mean, my God. I had to get that off my chest. I was thinking about that. I was like, I am saying that on Wednesday when I saw that, and I thought that immediately. So back to the game here, right? So after Rhys Hoskins' home run, I wrote down all the innings. 5th inning, we had 0 hits. We had 0 hits and 1 strikeout. 6th inning, 1 hit, 2 walks. The hit was a single to left by Contreras. Bowers had a 5-pitch walk. Hoskins flew out to second. And the other walk, I did not write down the other walk. It was Mitchell. And we had 1 strikeout in that inning. 7th inning, we had 2 hits and a strikeout. The 2 hits were Ortiz infield single and Perkins infield single, and then Turang had a double play. Yep. Then you get to the 8th inning. Contreras and Frelick struck out looking. No hits. And then the 9th inning, Mitchell hit a single to left. and we had 1 strikeout. So we had 6 strikeouts and 4 hits after the Rhys Hoskins home run. Some of them are looking, and I know we've talked about this, and the Brewers as a team, man, they're just in a slump. It is what it is. And we've had many of conversations about the ups and downs of the baseball season. This is one of the downs. This is just what we deal with. You wear it as a fan. You cheer them on. You do not go to social media and start bitching. That is what you do not do. You cheer them on. You encourage them. You be positive. You tell them to go out there and get the next one. They have a much well-earned off day tomorrow, which they definitely need before they go on the road. Get the off day, recoup yourself, and we're going to get back to it. But the offense was struggling through the first 2 games of this series.
Yep. I will say William Contreras, kind of a lone bright spot. William Contreras extended his hitting streak to 5 in this game, and he was 7 for his last 19, which is 368 at this point of this game. He had 3 doubles in that stretch, also 3 walks in that stretch. So William Contreras hopefully is turning a corner. Getting him back to April, May, William Contreras hotness would be a big thing for the Brewers.
Almost a necessity.
Now, you mentioned already Aaron Savali, pretty decent outing. The last time that he had 0 walks in an appearance was May 14th.
Oh, wow.
So his 4 appearances as a Brewer were 3 walks, 2 walks, 4 walks, and now 0 walks. So I think it's possible that this was Aaron Savali's best outing as a Brewer, even though his outing against the Pirates was pretty damn good.
I don't.
He did only have 3 strikeouts, but again, if shorter counts lead to less walks and less strikeouts, but similar amounts of runs or less, totally fine with that. I'm not going to complain about Aaron Savali getting outs in play. We know the Brewers have good defense, so I'm not going to be any sort of disappointed if Aaron Savali is recording 6 innings of work and gets 17 ground or fly balls and 1 strikeout. It's not gonna be, I don't give a shit. If you're getting outs, great. I don't care how you get the outs, especially if it's something that can benefit your pitch count and keep you away from getting into trouble with walks. So pretty pleased with this outing from Savali. And then just a rare Koenig bad experience. He's been pretty damn good over the course of the season. Just came back from injury. So I'm going to be a little patient with Jared Koenig. He's got a much bigger track record this season of being really good and deserving leverage and earning leverage. Just this inning kind of snowballed on him. Happens. It literally happens to everybody. So other than that, Brewers left 5 guys on base. Got to get that number up. Yes, I'm advocating for the Brewers to leave more runners on base because we've had this conversation too. If they're leaving more guys on base, it means you're getting guys on base. Eventually, you run out of bases to put guys.
That's true.
So, obviously, I don't want the Brewers to leave 9 guys on base and be 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. But the more chances you give yourself, the more opportunities you have to score. So, get that number up. Go to Game 3.
So we get to Game 3, and the Brewers win, and we're all happy. We're ecstatic, and we're having a good time. And Tobias Myers is on the mound. So he threw 4 innings. Took him 75 pitches to get through 4 innings. Gave up 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 5 Ks. So, I mean, by all means, he's not going to be in line for a quality start or a win. But 1 earned run over 4 innings, I'm not going to be mad at. Jacob Junis, before getting traded from the Milwaukee Brewers, gave us 2 scoreless innings. So thank you. Appreciate that. Now go help the second place Reds miss the playoffs. I would appreciate that. Man, I really wanted to say that without laughing. Joel Alpinum's 1 inning, 1 earned run and a walk. So, I mean, not terrible, but he's working through some stuff, and he has turned a corner a little bit, but he's still getting there. Hobie Milner again. I mean, dude, honestly, I just am cheering for Hobie Milner at this point. The person, fuck the jersey that he's wearing. I love Hobie Milner, and I hope he does well. So, I'm just super happy when he does good things because stop disrespecting him. The man is awesome. So, Williams came in this one. This was his season debut, and he was throwing fire.
Yeah.
It was like, dude, did you get a bionic arm? Like,
Dude,
what is
he
going
hit
on?
98, and I was like, what?
Yeah. When I saw that, I was like, bro, if you throw that on a consistent basis and your pitch drops 50 inches, people are going to be swinging so hard they rip their pants, dude.
Dude, if he's throwing 98-mile-an-hour fastballs, 97-mile-an-hour fastballs, and is in, if it's, I have to assume that his changeup is going to go up by at least a couple miles an hour. But if he's throwing 97, 98 with an 85 to 86 mile an hour changeup that, like you said, drops 15 inches, there's going to be some dudes swinging out of their helmets and falling down.
I'm telling you, dude, it's going to be insane.
More so than he already does.
I mean, that's just ridiculous. So awesome to have Devin Williams back. Would have obviously loved to be in more situations to use him. Before I get into the Brewers offense, I got to give a shout out to the rookie on Miami, Xavier Edwards. First career home run on his first hit of the day, and he hit for the cycle. So the day that he hit his first career home run, he also had his first cycle. So, I mean, I know we are Wisco fanatics, but that's just a cool moment, dude. That's a cool moment. That's awesome.
I have a line for him in my notes.
I had to. I was like, dude, that's cool, man. It's something you work so hard
Respect where it's due. Plus, it's good for the game, obviously.
Special moment.
So he's actually, it's not just like, oh, the Brewers, of course, they give this up to a rookie who's never played baseball before. He's a stud. He came up on June 7th, and he is batting .379.
Damn.
So it's not just, he didn't just have one, the Brewers didn't just give this rookie a good game. He's been playing really well since he came up.
Yeah. Wow.
So only 2 years until he gets traded to the Yankees.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he is going to have 4 home runs in his first 2 games. So shout out to Xavier Edwards. So in this one, Turang, I got to start with Turang. He got out of his slump a little bit, 2 for 4 at the plate, and dude, platinum, fuck a gold, dude. Seriously, 2 platinum level defensive plays,
back to back.
One to his left, one to his right, and the one to his right was more impressive. He literally looked like Superman jumping to his right, and I was like, bro, is there anything this guy can't do? It's insane. The second one that he caught was hit 96.4 miles per hour. And he jumped out there and caught that thing.
Yeah, once I saw that one go past Myers, I was like, oh shit, that's gonna be a single to center field. And then Bryce Turang is just flying through the air and the ball's in his glove, and it's like, huh, okay, I was wrong.
Dude, I literally screamed like, oh, like holy, that was insane.
I said this on Twitter, like those 2 plays, because both of them came with the bases loaded. It's like you got to just basically add 4 defensive runs saved to Bryce Turang right there. Like he just saved 2 runs from scoring twice.
Yep, bases loaded with 1 out, and then Bryce Turang is just like, yeah, we're done. This inning's going to be over now.
Yeah, this is a no-go zone. Like this is all red. Like you try to hit it over here, it's not going to be a hit.
Yep. Good luck. Hit it to the other guy over there who's also very good on defense. So the Brewers had a 2-run first. Turang had a single, and Bowers hit a home run to right. So, I mean, nice to see Jake Bowers hitting home runs. They had a 2-run fourth. Hoskins hit a single. Mitchell hit a double. Ortiz had an infield single, which the Brewers are just masters at. I believe they still lead MLB in infield singles. Haas had a K after the infield single, and then Turang had a single, making it 4-1. And then they had a 2-run fifth, so back-to-back 2-run innings. Churio led the inning off with a home run. Bowers had a triple. So Bowers had a homer in the first and a triple in the fifth. Adames struck out, and then Hoskins hit a sac fly to hit Bowers in, making the game 6-1. Bowers had 2 RBIs in this one. He had a couple 2-out RBIs. Turang had an RBI, a 2-out RBI. Hoskins, Ortiz, and Churio also had RBIs. Brewers 3 for 9 in runners in scoring position. The 3 players with those hits: Bowers with 2 outs, Turang, one of his RBI was the 2 outs, and Ortiz had a runners in scoring position hit. So 3 for 9 is 33%, which would be really good overall for a season. So we'll take it. Are you looking it up if they're still leading?
looking to see, and I can't find somewhere to find that exact number on infield.
I remember seeing it like a couple of weeks ago, that they were leading, and I was like, oh wow. And then
It's one of those things that they probably show it during the game, but it's hard to find on a website. Okay, so I have some thoughts on Tobias Myers. Obviously, he gave up the first pitch home run and had a little bit more traffic after that, but had 3 strikeouts in the first inning. Had a lot of traffic in the third inning. It took him 27 pitches to get through. He was at 64 pitches after 3 innings. Got taken out after 4 with only 75 pitches.
Ooh.
So I get that the Brewers had some middle relievers fresh, like Bryce Wilson would have been fresh for this game. Jacob Junis did end up pitching in this game. He gave the Brewers 2 innings. But I think as we get to the stretch, I think Tobias Myers needs a little bit more leash. We've discussed this. I know I've brought it up multiple times that Tobias Myers, when he's gotten into trouble, then gotten out of trouble, and with this game, he had a pretty solid 4th inning. It only took him 11 pitches to get through. We've seen it earn him an extra inning. And obviously, this is before Brian Hudson and Trevor McGill went to the injured list, so we didn't have quite the bullpen deficiency that we have now, as we did in the 3rd game of the Marlins series. But it's something I'm going to be keeping an eye on, is Pat Murphy stretching some of these starters out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Not named Freddie Peralta. He's giving the Brewers 100 pitches every time he goes out there.
Mm-hmm.
So Savali, Ray, Myers, and we'll see what happens with Montes. They're going to have to let those guys go a little bit, in my opinion.
Yep.
Especially as we come down the stretch. Like, the next game the Brewers play is going to be on August 2nd, so there's 2 months of the season left. Now, you mentioned offense. Seeing Jackson Chourio hit a home run on an outside fastball and hit it to right center. If Jackson Chourio can put inside fastballs like we saw last week into the opposite field, outside fastballs into the opposite field, we're really starting to see Jackson Chourio have his plate discipline improve, and seeing him be able to hit basically any pitch to anywhere on the field.
I actually have a thought. I wrote this down, and I knew you were going to talk a little bit more about Jackson. So, if Jackson Chourio carries this offense with Christian Yelich out, and the Brewers end up winning a close race against the Pirates, as it looks like it's going to come down to the Pirates and the Cardinals and the Brewers, he really could make a case for himself to win Rookie of the Year over Skeens. If he jumps in and takes over the Yelich role and is carrying the offense while everybody else is slumping, you can make a legit case for him being Rookie of the Year.
I'll hear it. Brad said Acuna 2.0, and right now I don't have any reason to not agree with you. Just like since he turned that corner at the beginning of June, Jake keeps throwing the word superstar around, and it's there. He's 20. Imagine if he takes a leap. Like, he's this good now. He's like 3 years away from being in his prime.
Dude. Yeah, he's definitely going to have like a 40-40 year for sure.
We're having this conversation now. Like, he's 20. When people talk about him and they put his name in the same conversation as Ronald Acuna and Mike Trout and Bryce Harper, it's like, I can see it. We are seeing it now.
Yep.
He's got that talent, and he's putting it on display. So I will hear your argument.
Dude, this is what Bryce Harper was doing when he was 19 to 20 years old. This is why Bryce Harper is known as Bryce Harper.
Right.
Jackson Chourio is going to be a household name pretty soon, and he signed with the Brewers for a long time. On a nice deal.
Into the 2030s.
Love that.
Love that for us. A couple other guys that I wanted to give some offensive credit to. Reese Hoskins. He was technically 1-for-1, but he also had a sac fly and drew 2 walks. So I think he's a guy who's potentially turning a corner, hopefully. I just need to get that batting average up a little bit. Jake Bauers was 2-for-3 with a walk. He drove in 2 RBIs and scored 2 runs himself. And Garrett Mitchell was 2-for-2 with a walk.
Mm-hmm.
So Brewers offense, much better in this game. Just need to see more of that. Had Junis, Milner, and Piamps limiting the Marlins to 1 run in 4 innings, and Devin Williams made his season debut throwing 98. Obviously, I'm not expecting it to stay that way. I'm wondering if maybe there's just a little bit of adrenaline there that's got his, a little bit of extra velocity there. But
Yeah.
we'll see as we see him more. They're still going to keep him away from back-to-backs, is what Pat Murphy said. But Brewers bullpen, it's a little thin for the next week still.
Yeah.
So let's go to Brewers and Braves. Let's go to game 1. And what stood out to you from Monday?
Thing that stood out to me. So as I'm looking at these Brewers pitching stats and I'm looking at the earned runs, I'm seeing Colin Ray with 2, Milner with 0. Yes. Figueroa with 0. Mears with 0. And Wilson with 1. And I like that. And then you go to the walks. There's only 2 from Ray, 1 from Milner, and 0 from Figueroa, Mears, and Wilson. So keep it that way, boys. Low earned runs, low walks. Those things kind of correlate with each other.
Yep.
Weird how that works, right?
I have a very similar way to say what you just said, but with different words.
And I don't know what the hell was going on, but 10 of the 11 runs scored in this game are from the home run. So the home run bug was just on both sides. It's just the Brewers had people on base when they hit theirs. That's really what the big difference in the game was. So if you go back and you hear me talking about this, and then you go back about 30 seconds, you can hear Tyler talking about how the Brewers need to get more people on base and get traffic jams. It proved true literally 2 games later as we're talking about it. So congratulations to you again for sounding super smart. But this one started off with the Braves up 2-0. Ozuna and Arcia had home runs, and those were booming home runs. Ozuna's especially, dude. Marcell Ozuna. I called him Ozuna. I mean, what am I talking about right now? Marcell Ozuna, crushed a homer, 438. So then Hoskins on the bottom of the 5th after Arcia in the top of the 5th hit a home run, was just like, that was cute. Okay, hits his own home run. Okay, then Adames gets up in the bottom of the 6th and says, "Okay, Hoskins, I got you. And I'm going to raise you 3," and hits a 3-run shot. Ortiz in the bottom of the 7th gets a triple. Frelick ended up scoring off of that one as he was on base. Churriel hit another home run. That was his 12th of the year. Hoskins 18th of the year, and Adames' 17th of the year. And then Hoskins hit a sac fly in the bottom of the 8th to put us up 8-2. And Sean Murphy for the Braves hit a home run in the top of the 9th, but that didn't really fucking matter because the Brewers were kicking their ass. And you know what? This was a fun game to watch as a Brewers fan. I know we gave up some home runs. All the earned runs for the Braves were solo shots. Brewers had people on base. Their home runs meant a little bit more because people were on base again. And you know what? The Brewers walked away with a dub, and that was a good thing. The offense was humming for 2 straight games.
Reggie said, just saying this month is going to show who we really are. Absolutely. August is going to be huge. And I'm interested to see what Murph Tember looks like. We've seen what the Brewers do in September under Craig Counsell. We had, Craig Tember. I'm interested to see what Murph Tember looks like.
Huh. I agree, Reggie.
We'll see.
We got some people turning some corners, so we'll see.
August has typically been Freddie Peralta's month. So
we're going to need it.
Yeah. Interested to see what happens there. Now, you mentioned Colin Ray giving up the 2 solo shots, those 2 earned runs. What I put in my notes was, to his credit, not allowing a lot of traffic, so he's limited the amount of damage that those cause.
Yeah.
We've seen other appearances where it's like single, double, walk, single, and there's 2 runs scored off of that. Mm-hmm. But there's so much traffic that obviously the potential for multiple runs scoring at a time in chunks is there versus giving up a solo shot here and there. Obviously today, if you score 4 solo shots, obviously that's something else. But that's really just not typically what happens. Like 4 home runs is an outlier, and even still, having 4 home runs to score 6, it is what it is. So looking at that, then we get to the bottom of the 2nd inning. Now Jackson Churriel leads off with a single. Willie Adames gets a single, and the Brewers have runners on the corners with nobody out, and they go strikeout. Yep. That is where the ball just has to be in play.
Yeah.
There's a couple of examples even later in this game. Rhys Hoskins has a sac fly. That's the stuff you just got to be able to put the ball in play. I believe the Brewers scored a run today off of a sac fly. Just got to be able to put the ball in play in those situations.
Yep.
Obviously, I don't need to tell anybody on the Brewers that. They all know that. It's just one of those things where here we are talking about it.
Yep.
They're all looking at the iPads after that, all those at-bats, and they're like, this is what I got to do to put the ball in play in those situations. And having guys like Sal Frelick and Bryce Turang and William Contreras who are going to use the opposite field in those situations, that's going to help the Brewers in the future as they continue to grow.
Yep.
That opposite field approach, shortening the swing, choking up on the bat, those are the kind of things that are going to benefit the Brewers with 2 strikes. And that is why guys like Sal Frelick are going to be better in those situations. Not bunting with 2 strikes. Definitely not. I don't like bunting to begin with, but definitely not with 2 strikes. But you're looking at runners on first and third with nobody out, bunting. Churio's on third base. Sure. In that situation, though, this is a game the Brewers are down 2-0. And I've talked about this. Bunting increases your chances of scoring 1 run, but it decreases your chance of scoring multiple runs.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, if you're looking for a bunt, you're looking to cut the lead to 2-1. When you have first and third, nobody out, you should be thinking, let's score 2 or 3.
Yep.
Or more. So unless it's a tie game in the bottom of the 9th inning or later, there's no reason to try to score only 1 run. Okay. Other than that, Rhys Hoskins extended his hitting streak to 5 in this game. Had home runs in 3 of his last 4. And the Brewers scored 8 unanswered runs. People were complaining after the 3rd inning when the Brewers were down 2-0 that the Brewers offense, it's terrible, it's worse in the league. And then they pile on 8 runs, and it's like, happy with yourself that you complained for the first 2 innings of the game? That's 9 innings long. You feel good about that? Does that feel good?
I'm sure it did. Yeah.
Tweets, something. We'll have a conversation in a little bit here, but let's go to last night's game. We talked about, and we had the watch party for this one because we knew the game wasn't going to get canceled due to lack of a roof, like it will be in Chicago. Hashtag get a roof. But looking at it, we got Joe Ross back. So what stood out to you from last night?
Yeah, so the first 2 innings went really fast. Like, you blinked and you missed the first 2 innings. Joe Ross for the Brewers and Bryce Elder for the Braves both had 19 pitches for the first 2 innings. Then we get to the 3rd inning, and that's where Joe Ross was really just getting crushed. I believe 3 of the 5 hits that he gave up in that inning were all over 100 miles an hour, or were at least 98 miles per hour from what I saw. And he had 43 pitches in the 3rd, and they jumped on us. They started hitting the ball hard, and the Brewers really weren't able to recover from that point. Ross did come out in the 4th inning, and he had an 11-pitch 4th inning. He got to 73, and then he had a 6-pitch. Oh, no, that was the 2nd inning. My fault. But he ended up having 5 innings pitched, 8 hits, 5 earned runs, and 4 Ks, 2 of them being backwards Ks. So for whatever that's worth, I'm going to trust Pat Murphy over the people on the internet. And Pat Murphy said that the velocity was up and he looked good out there. So if you're talking about building habits, and I can still say this, it's July. I mean, you get Joe Ross back in July, get him a couple more starts under his belt. We get Montes familiar with us, and we get him going. Peralta, like you said, August is really his month. We get these guys going. We get a little bit healthier. Devin Williams gets going a little bit. The back of the bullpen gets stabilized a little bit more. Everybody falls into their role. I'm fine, honestly. And we talked about it last night with Wilson giving us 2 scoreless innings, and then Tyler J coming in and pitching and eating up the rest of the game. I'm fine with how last night went, honestly. You get Joe Ross a start, get him out there, get him comfortable. And the Brewers, the Braves just jumped on us. The Brewers offense didn't really do much. We scored off of a hit from El Gary, and we move on to today.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where there's an opportunity here for mindset. We don't want to lose games. Like, nobody wants to lose. but you have to be able to accept losing when it happens.
Yeah.
Throwing temper tantrums when losses happen, that is a surefire way to make sure that you don't grow as much as you possibly could from a loss.
Yeah.
So when I looked at Joe Ross going into last night's game, what I noticed when I was looking at his numbers, his metrics, was that 3 of his 4 main pitches have an expected batting average below what the actual is.
Okay.
So I said this last night that I believe that Joe Ross, when he's healthy, has the opportunity to be a good piece for the Brewers going forward. Just obviously give the good defense behind him, and we'll see how much he can help us down the stretch.
Yeah.
Now, the first 2 innings, like Jake said, were fantastic. He was 13 for 13 on pitches for strikes in the first inning, only a 6-pitch second inning, and then the third inning, we've talked about games kind of snowballing on you. This one was just an avalanche.
Yeah.
And this was all the traffic. This is where it's like, this is the difference between Colin Ray giving up 2 solo shots and being a good outing still versus giving up a single, double, single, walk, and then another single, and there's 4 runs on there instead of 2. So limiting that traffic. The 4th inning gave up an infield single, followed immediately by a double play, and then a solo home run. That is what it is. That is not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to give up runs with 2 outs, but you get 3 for a reason. So the Braves made use of all 3 of their outs with that solo shot. So I'm not super disappointed by Joe Ross. Like I said, I still think he's got the ability to be a contributor for the Brewers in August and September.
Yeah.
Then looking at the bottom of the 4th inning, the Brewers started to hit the ball kind of hard, and I was like, okay, maybe the Brewers can turn a corner here. William Contreras had a 104.8 mile an hour line out. Willie Adames had a double that was 107.7, and then Jackson Churio had a really hard hit ground out that was 106.7 miles an hour. So the Brewers starting to hit the ball around. I thought maybe that was going to be a turn of the corner, but just didn't end up, falling that way for the Brewers. Now, this is something Brandon mentioned this earlier as a potential underrated player, being Blake Perkins. Having the ability to have Garrett Mitchell in the game, the Braves bring in a left-handed reliever. Pat Murphy sends Gary Sanchez to the plate, who immediately delivers a run-scoring single. And then being able to put Blake Perkins into the game after that is such an asset for this team.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope the Brewers can keep him around. He's one of the best defenders. I shouldn't even say he's one of the best defenders in Major League Baseball as far as outfielders are concerned.
100%.
So it's very possible that he'll have some other suitors in free agency. But if the Brewers can keep him around and have him as a late inning defensive substitute and a switch hitting bat, I'm pretty happy with Blake Perkins being our 4th outfielder.
Yep.
Okay. So let's go to today's game. You can give me your thoughts on today, and then we're going to have a short conversation before we move on.
So I have a few notes from today. It's not much. First thing I want to talk about is I think Freddie was good today. He matched Chris Sale pitch for pitch. And Chris Sale is in the NL Cy Young race right now. And Freddie Peralta showed. And maybe this is where your conversation what you had where you said that, and I just thought of this after you said it, that this is his month, is August coming up, and maybe the last 2 starts are maybe showing that maybe that's true. He was like I said, matching pitch for pitch. I didn't even get his final line, but I was just listening on the radio. He had
6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 walks, 7 Ks, 2 earned runs.
Yeah, and he gave up the 2 home runs.
Yep.
I mean, he pitched 101 pitches in 6 innings. I mean, that's
so.
I was listening on the radio, and Uke was talking about how good Freddie was today, and who am I to go against Bob Uecker, bro? I'm nobody compared to Bob Uecker. That guy knows more baseball. He shits out more baseball knowledge when he goes to the bathroom than I will ever know in my life. I mean, he's just been around the game forever.
It's a very vivid picture. Thank you for that.
And I wanted to have one other conversation, and it was about Monasterio. And last night he came into the game, And this is a guy who doesn't get many at-bats, doesn't get much playing time in general, and I think he needs to start getting more because I think that Terang and Ortiz are just exhausted. I think that they're two guys that are just tired. I mean, it makes sense for Joey Ortiz to be tired. He's a rookie. He's never played this many games in his entire life, especially on the consecutive days basis. And then Terang has just got to be exhausted. I mean, that had to just be an emotional shot when you make the turnaround that he did and then not even get the call for a replacement in the All-Star game. That had to hurt, dude. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, as a human, that had to suck. And he just looks tired, and he just needs a couple days off, in my opinion. So Monasterio needs to get up there a little bit more. But last night he comes into the game, swings at the first pitch, done. Today, the Brewers had an opportunity to break this one open and win a series against a Braves team that is very up and down this year. Could have really changed a lot of mindsets and changed the course of a lot of things if he went up there with a different mindset. But just like last night, he goes and he swings at the first pitch. And immediately in my brain, I'm just like, dude, take a pitch. It's okay to take a pitch. Just go see one up there. You're in the batter's box. Go see one. Take the first one. If you get up 1-0, let me tell you, buddy, he don't want to go down 2-0 to you. He has nowhere to put you. He don't want to go down 2-0. So you know what? If you're going up there with the mindset, and I'm absolutely okay with the mindset, and this is an opportunity for him to improve. If you go up there, you take the first pitch, and you're up there with the mindset that you're going to swing, you're going to be aggressive, that's fine. Take the first one. If you're up 1-0, dude, he's giving you something now. He has to. He literally has to give you something to hit. It's probably going to be on the corner, and it's probably going to be low, but you're a Major League Baseball player. You know how to deal with that. So go up there, take the first one, see one, and you know what? If your approach changes after you take the first one and you take the second one and you're up 2-0, God forbid he's definitely got to throw you something over the plate now. But I want him to succeed because we've talked about him since last year. His smile is infectious. His energy is infectious. I want him to succeed very badly because he just seems like a guy that deserves it. And honestly, we need it as well. Outside of everything, we need it as well. So Monasterio needs to improve a little bit. He did make a crazy throw last night, which we forgot to mention. Made a disgusting throw in the ninth inning, like a jump throw to get a double play. So shout out to him for that. But he needs to go up there with a little bit better approach at the plate, in my opinion.
So I was going to bring it up because he had a really nice defensive play today also.
Mm-hmm.
There was a ball where Freddie Peralta got a grounder and turned through, and it was a little high and a little wide of the base, but Andre Monasterio was able to keep like just the big toe of his cleat on the bag as he made the catch, and then still get a quick throw over to first base to get a double play.
Oh, wow.
So back-to-back days with Andre Monasterio making some pretty remarkable plays at second base in relief of Bryce Terang. But I do agree with you. The Brewers need somebody behind Ortiz and Terang to step up. Last year we saw at times Owen Miller was playing really hot. And we saw earlier in the season the Brewers gave Oliver Dunn some opportunities. The Brewers just don't have another guy that's going to be playing second base, third base, shortstop. They don't have a Hernan Perez. That's the kind of guy that we need. But Andre Monasterio just hasn't been quite as reliable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I do agree with you. Part of that could be playing time. It's hard to get into a rhythm when you're not playing as much. So, I feel for Monasterio a little bit. And it would be obviously nice if, fans would also realize that it's hard to be in rhythm when you're getting 4 at-bats once every 5 days.
Oh, wow. It's almost like you can apply that same method of thinking to basketball.
It's literally the exact thing, and I was speaking from experience.
Literally the exact same thing.
Yep. You expect a guy to go 4 for 4 on threes when he shoots 1 per quarter.
And he touched the ball at the 11-minute mark of the first quarter, and then he doesn't touch it again till the 6-minute mark of the third quarter. You're like, why did he miss? Well, I don't know. He hasn't touched the ball in an hour and a half.
Yeah. And the third one that he took was with 3 seconds left on the shot clock.
Right. Dude, so, we need to start doing some keynotes, bro.
You just need to have, some patience for people. Yes, they're professional athletes, but they're also people.
Yep.
Okay. So there's that. We talked about this last night, that we were probably expecting a pretty right-handed heavy lineup with Chris Sale, the lefty, on the mound. Jackson Churio was leading off. This lineup had a single and a double. Brewers scored first for the first time since the Cubs series finale. So good to see the Brewers get on the board first. I would just like them to see them score early and often, not just early or often. So there's that. Now, you mentioned Freddie Peralta. I think he had pretty good command, gave the Brewers a quality start. I really have no complaints for Freddie Peralta. He did a good job keeping his slider down in the zone. He didn't have his best changeup, but he was still decent with it. And 2 walks, it is what it is. It's not an astronomical number. It's not a number that drove his pitch count out of control. 100 pitches for 6 innings for a guy who lives on the strikeouts, that's fine. It's a literal quality start. 6 innings, 2 earned runs.
Yep.
So I'm fine with that by Freddie. The bottom of the 7th started with an error. Another rare Willie Adames error. We had 2 this week, unfortunately. And then Jared Koenig allowed 2 2-out base runners. That's just tough. And then Elvis came in to try to clean it up, got a ground ball, and it just had eyes for the outfield.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm going to use here is like the literal next inning. Rhys Hoskins hit a ground ball to the same exact spot that the third baseman got just the tip of his glove on, so that it bounced to Orlando Arcia, who was able to throw Rhys Hoskins out. It's just, you're talking inches. Is the difference between a 2-run single and a ground out. And people are throwing Elvis Peguero under the bus. So I think it's a little unfair. He got a ground ball. He did what he was supposed to do. That's what he was brought in to do, was get ground balls.
Yep.
So I'm not going to throw a temper tantrum over Elvis Peguero giving up a hit that allowed the Braves to score a couple runs. Mears gave up a couple solo shots in the 8th. It is what it is. The Brewers, in my opinion, scoring 2 runs in the first inning, you need to score more after that and score early and often, not early or often. And then the bottom line is the Brewers just need the bullpen to get healthy. DL Hall hopefully is going to come up and help with that sooner than later. And thankfully, Trevor McGill and Brian Hudson's injuries aren't serious. So we'll be back to the Studley 7, 8, 9 of Hudson, McGill, and Williams. Maybe have a new law firm forming over there. Okay. So the Brewers start a 3-game series with the Nationals on Friday night. That'll be Frankie Montes' Brewers debut. So Friday through Sunday, they're at the Nationals, and then they face the Braves again. The first game of the 3-game series we will have next week from Tuesday night. So that'll be the first of a 3-game series in Atlanta. So we'll only have 4 games next week for the Brewers because they're off tomorrow and off Monday. Okay. So in those 4 games, I'd really like the Brewers to go 3-1. The Nationals sold. So they are basically C.J. Abrams.
Yep.
That's what they are.
Yep.
So I'd like to see the Brewers get right against the Nationals.
Yeah, it'd be nice to go 3-1. Couple off days will be massive for this team. With talking about workload for guys, especially the younger guys, it'll be really nice for them to have a couple off days tomorrow, fly out to DC, and have an off day before they start that series. I mean, it'll be really nice. Hey, Reggie, you don't have to try to get us excited about the Packer season, man. That's just going to happen naturally. We have 2 Packers games for watch parties next month with preseason, which I want to say I'm shocked by that, but I'm not. And also, I was talking about it a couple months ago. I was like, dude, we should just watch the preseason games just because this roster is so young that, like, traditionally it's like, oh, what young guys are going to make it, what young guys are not. But you can't say that with the Packers because literally everybody is young. Yeah, everybody's young. Oh, this guy's 24? Oh, this rookie is literally older than our guy who's been on the team for 2 years? That's insane.
Preston Smith at 31 is geriatric on this team.
Reggie, we are doing it, but if you want to watch that, you have to join us on Patreon.
So let's just do this. We'll do this really quick.
Yep.
So Reggie, so we have Patreon. We have that. That is going to be the August 18th preseason game. That's Packers Broncos. That one will be for Patreon only. And then the other game that the Patreon subscribers voted on was the Badgers home opener on August 30th. So those are going to be the two for Patreon. We are also doing a free watch party, which is going to have like our full pregame show. That's going to be what we show everybody, you know, what we're doing for the Patreon episodes. That is on August 10th. So the August 10th one would be the one to put on your calendar. That one's going to be free for everybody. We're going to do that one on Facebook and YouTube. And then the 18th Packers Broncos preseason game and the August 30th Badgers football game, those will be Patreon only. So
I mean, you should just come anyways because you're really positive, and I appreciate your comments. And you like talking football, and we're going to talk football, and it's going to be awesome. So you should join us for $5 a month. It's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So before we get out of here, we're going to have a State of the Brewers Union because the Brewers didn't go all in at the trade deadline, and then they went 2-4 on a homestand. Oh, my God, the sky is falling. What are we going to do? Like, we're heading into August with a 5-game lead in the division. Oh, no. So let's have a State of the Union talk because I have one specific section of people that I want to address. But what are you thinking?
So, did steal a little bit of my thunder, but I'm going to start over. The Brewers come out of the All-Star break on the road, 2 crazy games in Minnesota. Jackson Chourio came out pissed for some reason. I don't know what was going on, but he hated baseballs for 2 straight days. Then they go to Chicago, win that series. Love that. We're 5-1 out of the break. They come home. They were cooking in the first half. At home, they struggle against the Marlins. We have lots of injuries. Our bullpen is decimated. You guys have to start paying attention to that kind of stuff. Especially if you're going to bitch, like I'm just going to preface this. If you're going to sit there and bitch and complain about everything, you probably know what you're talking about.
At the very least.
At the very least. But when you're just complaining just to complain, you got issues. I'm sorry. Go seriously, I mean this as like a human, like human to human. Go talk to somebody. If you want to talk to us, we'll talk to you. I'll be a nice guy to you. I know I call people douchebags and babies and all that kind of stuff, but I won't do that if you don't want me to. I'll just sit there and listen. But some people do need that tough love. And most of the people that complain are those kind of people, in my opinion, because they're literally just complaining to complain. Now, they didn't go all in because they don't have to. We had this discussion at the beginning of this episode.
Yep.
We had a young team. We weren't even supposed to win 80 games. If you went to Vegas and said, I'll take the over, and the Brewers win 80 games, which they would be under 500, by the way, you would win. They don't even have to be an average team for you to win at the beginning of the year. And we are 100% going to be above average. I'll tell you that.
Tomorrow is August 1st, and they're 19 wins away.
19 wins away on August 1st with a 5-game lead. They're going to have at least 5 on the Cardinals because the Cardinals have off today. They started the series with the Cubs tomorrow.
Wouldn't shock me if the Brewers hit 80 before the end of August. That's 19 wins in August. Wouldn't shock me.
Wouldn't shock me at all. But I'm going to say this one last part. I'm going to give the floor to Tyler. I'm so sick and tired of hearing people say, sell the farm. I'm going to cuss, so cover your kids' ears. How many fucking farms do you think we own? We have one goddamn farm. And most of the farm is up with us right now. Now, we do have some gems down there yet because the Brewers scouting team has been some absolute dogs for the last couple of years. Like, straight up, give it respect. But we're not selling the goddamn farm every year. We're the Milwaukee Brewers. We are tiny compared to Chicago's, to LA's, to New York's, Houston's. We're tiny. We don't have the great weather and to throw all these good-looking chicks like Miami does. We don't have
cash coming out of the ears.
Right. We don't have that kind of stuff. And Tyler has talked about this plenty. and he put a really good video together of Pat Murphy talking about the people being the asset. That is what we have. And when you sit there and bitch and complain after every single thing that happens that goes wrong, like the other team isn't full of professional baseball players, you're not being an asset. Please be better.
Making it honest, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It makes the fan base look bad.
It does.
It makes us look bad.
100%.
As Wisconsinites in general, I don't want to be known as a group of people that is just full of whiners.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, that is more what I see on social media than anything else of encouragement or get them tomorrow or anything like that, which is really unfortunate. And I'm going to say Twitter has been the worst between this 2-4 homestand and the Brewers not going all in at the trade deadline and being responsible and keeping the younger guys like Reggie said, which is what Matt Arnold said, that he didn't want to trade from the young core. I'm glad we still have Tyler Black and Jefferson Quiro and Cooper Pratt and Jacob Mizorowski and Luis Lara in this system, in the Brewers minor league system. Mm-hmm. I'm glad we still have Garrett Mitchell and Sal Frelick on this team. Mm-hmm. Looking at Brewers Twitter, there are some fucking miserable people there. Mm. It's really disappointing. And, I'm just the host of a podcast. I'm not an authority figure of any means, but I'm going to say, as somebody who hosts a podcast that is dedicated to being optimistic and realistic, I am disappointed in the way that people who are in the same groups as I am, as peers, as Brewers fans, as Wisconsinites, I am disappointed in the way that my peers are acting. That is why we do what we do, because we want our peer groups to be better, happier people, so that the people around them, by extension, the people around us, the people around them, the people that our children are going to be around when they grow up, will be happier people. Will be better sports fans. Will be happier sports fans who will enjoy sports more because they don't get so caught up in not everything going their way all the time, every day, every second, every game, every result, every practice, every trade deadline, everything always going perfectly. Because it's not. And neither will life. So stop having that expectation that everything is going to go the way that you want it to all the time. And if it's not, you're going to throw your hands in the air, jump on the ground, and bang your fists and kick your feet. Because that is the equivalent of what I'm seeing on Brewers Twitter this week. So, for fuck's sake, just enjoy baseball in the summertime. You will have a better time. And I'm not saying to not have expectations, because we do statistic projections. We do record predictions. We literally set what we think are expectations and possibilities. But you have to be able to accept losing when it happens. Yep. Seeing Brewers Twitter collectively, not 100% of people, but to see some people that have big platforms declaring the Brewers as one of the biggest losers of the trade deadline, and from mainstream media, people that I saw talking about it, none of them mentioned the Brewers as losers.
Weird.
I saw a couple of them mention the Astros as losers because they overpaid for Yusei Kikuchi. None of them mentioned the Brewers. They were responsible at the trade deadline. No, they didn't go all in. They didn't go all in. So what? This team, as Jake just pointed out, is overachieving. That is not the time when you go all in. The time you go all in is when you are expected to be where the Brewers are, and then they're still overachieving. Brandon mentioned it earlier that this year was about getting younger guys experience. Mm-hmm. So why go out and get a bunch of rentals? Because the Brewers, unlike Dodgers or Yankees or Red Sox or Cubs, are not in a position to go and buy players to fill in the roles that are going to be vacated by those rentals.
Mhm.
The Brewers have to fill any rental positions with inexpensive free agents or prospects.
Yep.
So if you sell a bunch of prospects for a rental, not only does that leave you with a hole in your major league roster and your minor league roster, but then you're also left with 2 holes that you now have to fill and no money to fill it with. That's how you set yourself back as opposed to propelling yourself forward. Because there's no guarantee that Jack Flaherty or Eric Fetty was going to guarantee the Brewers anything more than what they're going to get now without them. And they kept their young players.
I'm going to cook. You ready? I'm going to freaking cook right now. All the people that go on the internet and be like, oh, the Brewers just want to make the playoffs. That's good enough. All those same people are bitching and complaining that the Brewers haven't won a playoff series since 2018. So what? Winning a playoff series is enough for you? Like the ultimate goal doesn't matter anymore? So now just winning a playoff series will make you happy. Maybe a Jack Flaherty would have helped us win a playoff series. But guess what? We want to win the whole goddamn thing. That's the real goal.
That's what Matt Arnold is building to.
Yeah.
Matt Arnold isn't just focused on 2024 because it's what right in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a general manager. He's not the team manager. He's not managing the team that's on the paper in front of him. He has to manage general. So looking at 2025, 2026, is trading Garrett Mitchell or Sal Frelick going to help you in 2025 or 2026?
No.
It's going to take more away from the next 2 or 3 years than it's going to help you this year. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Trading any player of Garrett Mitchell, Sal Frelick, Tyler Black, Jefferson Quiro, Cooper Pratt, maybe Luis Lara, I guess I would throw in there. But trading any players like that is going to hurt you more in 25, 26, 27 than Jack Flaherty or Eric Fetty would have helped the Brewers in 2024. That, I think, is the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Joey Weimer, probably not in the situational factoring for 25, 26, or 27.
Well, they're able to get rid of a guy like that because of a Luis Lara who has been nothing but tremendous. So you already, like you're talking about, filling holes when you trade young guys. That hole's already filled in the Brewers' minds.
Yep. And they have another Carlos Rodriguez, the outfielder, that can play in AAA.
Yep.
So, those things that's really what it comes down to. I'm just going to leave it at that. I can't think of a better way to say that.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Okay. We will be back next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is August 7th. Is that right?
Yes. Tomorrow's the 1st.
August 7th. So nothing between now and then, but we're going to start getting into some Packer stuff in the month of August. So definitely stay tuned for that. And yes, Reggie, they do definitely have some fun pieces in the farm. If you are anywhere near Appleton, Reggie, try to get to some Timber Rattlers games. Cooper Pratt got promoted. So Cooper Pratt is in Appleton. So try to get to see him because come 2025, he's probably going to be down south.
Yep. He's on the fast track.
Yeah. Try to get to Appleton to see him there before you have to wait until 2026 to see him in Milwaukee.
Yeah, then when you go get his bobblehead in like 4 years, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I remember that one time I saw him in Appleton.
Yeah. Get a Timber Rattlers bobblehead of him. Yeah, Cooper Pratt is going to be a very interesting player to keep an eye on. But other than that, do you have another one today, too? Damn, I knew he hit his first career one last night in his first game. So if he had another home run today, shit, he was going to make Biloxi before the year is over.
Yeah, Jesus.
All righty. We will be back next Wednesday. Hopefully we got a little more Brewers W's to talk about next week. But other than that, August is when football stuff's going to start ramping up as well. So just enjoy the season. When we come back at the end of the year, and we're going to talk about what the fun things that we had. We're going to be talking about the Brewers creating havoc on the base paths. We're not going to be talking about that one homestand where they went 2-4 against the Marlins and the Braves. We're going to remember the fun stuff. So enjoy it. Let it be fun. Don't take it so seriously. Don't take it so hard. And don't go on social media and throw temper tantrums.